time is 9 o'clock.
NBC-Radio News on the Hour, brought to you by Wynn's friction-proofing products to correct and prevent car trouble from radiator to gas tank. Now here is Edwin Newman, NBC News.
An Indian Air Force helicopter crashed today in Kashmir, and 5 senior officers in the Indian Army and Air Force were killed. One of the dead was Chief of Operations of the Indian Air Force. In South Korea, 9 Koreans have been killed and 9 injured while gathering scrap metal on a United States Army firing range. The Koreans had been spotted before the firing and warned to leave by leaflets dropped from a helicopter, but apparently hid in bushes and caves. Then they rushed out to gather pieces of an Honest John rocket that was fired, counting on half an hour before another went off. Instead, it came a few minutes later, and the Koreans were caught. The incident took place yesterday. The new government in South Vietnam has relieved 31 high-ranking military officers of their commands and placed them on indefinite leave without pay. All 31 are believed to have been favored under the regime of President Diem, and all are to be investigated. In the meantime, they are not permitted to take other jobs. President Kennedy, on the second day of his tour of Texas, has speeches scheduled today in Fort Worth, Dallas, and Austin. After the Austin engagements, the President and Mrs. Kennedy will fly to the ranch of Vice President Johnson and stay overnight. Sometime today, Mr. Kennedy will telephone congratulations to former Vice President John Nance Garner at Uvalde, Texas. This is Garner's 95th birthday. The Navy may try today to bring up the wreckage of the U-2 plane that crashed into the Gulf of Mexico on Wednesday morning after an observation flight over Cuba. The search is still on for the plane's pilot, Captain Joe Hyde, Jr. of La Grange, Georgia. The Congo government last night deported to Brussels one of the Russian embassy officials arrested on Tuesday. The Soviet news correspondent arrested yesterday has been released. Edwin Newman, NBC News, New York.
Bless you. Now that the cold and flu season is here, be sure you always have Bayer aspirin handy to relieve pains and reduce fever fast. Then when symptoms strike, remember these 3 steps doctors recommend. Rest in bed, drink plenty of fluids, and take aspirin to reduce fever and relieve pain. If there are youngsters in your house, get orange-flavored Bayer aspirin for children, too. Bayer is the best.
This has been NBC News on the Hour. Listen again on the Hour for NBC Radio News, brought to you by Bayer Aspirin. Al Cappes monitors talking cartoonist weekends on the NBC Radio Network.
Yum, 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 Hussman's potato chips. Try some Hussman's potato chips. Do it today.
Hussman's Potato Chips, the most snack-satisfying chip on the market. Just right for meals or in between snacks. Always fresh, always crisp, always delicious. Hussman's Potato Chips. Wlw, Cincinnati. The guests on today's program appear in exchange for advertising or promoting the groups or events with which they are associated. Prizes awarded on this show are furnished to us in exchange for advertising. From McAlpin's Tea Room in downtown Cincinnati, WLW presents The Good Morning Show, starring Bob Braun. Good morning.
Good morning. A very special time of day when we say good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. We know that everything's okay when we say good morning.
And I say good morning.
A happy good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, it's a happy good morning from McAlpin. This is Bob Braun here with the Good Morning Show, along with the Lucky Pennies here today. Thank you very much. Should I take it back to her now, Stan? All right, yeah, we'll do that later. The Lucky Pennies are here along with Penny West, and we'll have a good program today. Plus, we have a double audience today. Did you know that, Dean?
I don't know, but they certainly look nice.
Yeah, they
Very
sure
nice.
do. Well, the reason I say that, we have with us today the Mothers of Twins Club from out in the Westwood area, Western Hills area of Cincinnati. I don't know why I say I lived in Westwood, that's why, and I think I still owe them a month's rent. I guess it's a thing I've never been able to get over. We'll have a lot of fun on the Good Morning program today. We have some nice gifts for you. I did mention White Villa, and in yesterday morning's Inquirer, they had their big Thursday ad. And in there, if you read that, you'll you would have seen by now, the complete line of things for Thanksgiving Day. They have everything at your neighborhood independent White Villa Market that, of course, will fill that Thanksgiving table for you. The pineapple, the beans, they have the cranberry sauce. Got a special on that, too, just in time for Thanksgiving. You can get 3 cans of White Villa strained cranberry sauce. This is the kind you take out of the can and can slice, and it tastes very good with turkey or chicken. And 3 cans for 59 cents. Just one of many fine specials. And believe me, at that neighborhood independent market called White Villa, the one that's owned by your neighbor just down the street, if you take your total food budget down there, you'll save money and also you'll get top quality merchandise.
White Villa, famous foods.
You will be enticed by budget priced. White Villa, famous foods. The quality's there, variety to spare. Try White Villa, famous foods.
I guess I should get to the question of the day, but I like to have music before we get into that on the Good Morning Show, so I'll tell you what we'll do, fellas. Penny, you can put down some of your groceries over there, and while Penny's getting set to sing this, I'll remind you, since we're talking groceries, that Partridge brand hams made by the H.H. Meyer Packing Company in Cincinnati also are delightful for a holiday table, too. A lot of people don't buy turkeys, but rather have ham for Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter time, and if you do that, just look for the name Partridge brand. That's the semi-boneless ham, and with Partridge on the label, you know that's the very best your money can buy. Packaged by the H.H. Meyer Packing Company right here in Cincinnati. It's Partridge brand ham. And speaking of ham, no, that's a terrible introduction. Here's Dean Richards and his lucky pennies.
Billy Gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see my share of meal.
Wlw-Radio, the home of Cincinnati Royals basketball, and this is Ed Kennedy, your play-by-play commentator, inviting you to join us tonight on this station for the NBA game between the Royals and the Detroit Pistons. Charlie Wolf, now coaching the Pistons, will be bringing in a squad of All-Americans, led by Bailey Howell. We'll be at the mic and hope you'll be at your radio tuned to WLW.
Time is 8:30 tonight on WLW-Radio Cincinnati. It's now 10 o'clock a.m.
NBC-Radio News on the Hour, brought to you by Bayer Aspirin for fast relief from headache, muscular pains, or fever of a cold. Now here is Russ Ward, NBC News.
President Kennedy, in his second day of speechmaking in Texas, is defending the TFX warplane as a powerful force of freedom. We'll have a report from Texas coming up. South Vietnam's Revolutionary Council has dismissed 31 high-ranking military officers for an indefinite period while investigations are made into their activities during the Diem regime. French officials are quoted today as saying the de Gaulle government would give sympathetic consideration to economic and military aid for Cambodia. Cambodian Prince Norodom Sihanouk reportedly has said France is the most capable power to represent the Western world in that part of Asia. There has been no official request for help, however. 9 South Koreans have been killed and 9 others injured as they were gathering scrap metal on a U.S. firing range north of Seoul. The victims died when an Honest John rocket landed in the area. An Army spokesman said the South Koreans had been warned of danger on the firing range, that they were trespassing when the tragedy occurred. By a margin of more than 100-1, delegates to the Roman Catholic Ecumenical Council have given final approval to the use of modern languages instead of Latin in most forms of church worship. This is the first definitive action by the Council. That report on the President. President Kennedy has opened the second day of his political swing through Texas. The story from NBC's Robert McNeil with the presidential party in Fort Worth.
President Kennedy's beginning the day with a defense of the controversial TFX fighter plane. He's telling a breakfast audience in Fort Worth right now that there's been a good deal of discussion of the competition to win the TFX contract, but relatively little discussion of what this revolutionary plane will do. The president has also just spoken to a crowd of several thousand standing outside in the rain. He's now preparing to move on to Dallas for a major lunchtime speech on the theme of American strength. Police in Dallas have mounted the biggest security operation in their history to prevent any repetition of the demonstrations which marked the visit of UN Ambassador Adlai Stevenson